Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to the Brandinc PR Podcast. I am your host, Brandi Sims, also the founder and principal publicist of Brandinc PR. Happy to be back another week. And this week, I have a special guest with me. You know, every week I have some amazing guests and we have some amazing conversations. And this one is going to be just like the rest, but a little switch up, okay? Because this is the first time that we've had this type of guest with this type of business in the studio today. So I'm excited to introduce Benjamin Shrader, who is the CEO of Shrader Promotions, LLC. Also a fellow Texas business. Hello. Excited about that. And he runs this Shrader Promotions, LLC, which is an event production and promotion company. So as I mentioned before, we haven't had somebody that has worked in events promotion. We've had folks, that dibble and dabble, kind of like me. I'm a publicist. We publicize the events, but we're not actually like organizing them. Absolutely not. That's not our lane. So this is really exciting to have you on, Benjamin. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you about everything and talk about events. It's a good time, a lot of work, sometimes very stressful, but a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. So, all right, Benjamin, let's set the stage, literally. Literally, we're setting the stage. So, from college and really from being a college entrepreneur to booking some of the biggest names in the game, give us the behind the scenes story. Did you just wake up one day and say, yep, I'm going to go ahead and book Wiz Khalifa? Or was there like a holy crap, I'm really doing this moment?
So, the biggest thing for me was in college, I was part of a program at Texas A&M called Startup Aggieland, and it helped students start businesses. We all lived together on the fourth floor of Hullabaloo Hall. We took a class on entrepreneurship together, which I know at the time, my arrogant little self was like, how can you take a class on entrepreneurship? But it was great because it was like how to file your taxes, how to get your LLC. It was the most practical class I've ever taken. Today, it's called the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship. It's still around, does a lot of great things. That helped me so much. But when I was in that, I wanted a business. I have very severe dyslexia. And so I said, my best option might be working for myself if I can figure something out so that, I'm not adding up numbers and messing up and it'd be chaotic.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a product. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a widget. I didn't have really any idea of any, but I could talk. That was the one thing I could do. Couldn't read or write or do math, but I could talk. And
Yeah.
I said, college kids like to party. If I control partying, college kids will like me. Honest to God, that was the simple deduction behind why I got into this career. I had a dream. I had a dream to be popular. It's very silly. It is very, very silly. But it meant a lot to me. I had felt like an outcast a lot of my life, and I wanted more. I wanted to connect with people, to be well liked. And so slowly I had started working in this industry, talking to people and going out every single night and shaking the hands of bouncers, shaking the hands of managers, shaking the hands of anybody who would talk to me. I mean, I remember those days so clearly because other people would be studying, other people would be partying and drinking and who knows what. But I would literally go out there in my suit or my ill-fitting sport coat, and I would go and I would try to get somebody to. At first, it was promotions exclusively. Uh, Let me manage your social media. I have 2,000 followers on Instagram. Let me promote your event. Of course, now it's much more, thank God. But back then it was very small and the events were minuscule compared to what they were or what they are now. But I was very lucky that one venue gave me an opportunity. They were the first to give me a shot. And in a couple months, we greatly increased the sales of that venue. And we took it from a place that was really the odd man out, a place that was really in decline, to a hotspot in College Station for fraternities, sororities, really the place to be. and we were doing all of these different types of events with them. And then over time, I saw the real money and the real power is in coordinating the events. And how I got into that.
Wow, 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 wow. So it sounds like you understood very early on how important it is to seize the moment and seize the opportunity.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that. Yes, yes. Okay. So we know, okay, Texas is big on music. Okay. But so is competition. Okay. It
Yes.
is not a game out here. So, what's been your secret sauce in standing out in the wild world of event promotions?
I
Like, what
love
has been the
I
key for
love
you?
this question. I love this question. Two things. Two things. I was very lucky where I first started in College Station that there were not many competitors that were real. There were many competitors. There were many, but they were in the game to party. They were not in the game to offer a service, to actually coordinate things. I remember talking to somebody. He had no LLC. He had no insurance, no protection. Like if something went wrong, the guy's going to jail. Like, it was beyond the pale to me. And so, because of that, in College Station, it was not easy. There was definitely a lot of competition, but I would jokingly say I wiped them out because they didn't have a level of professionalism. It was about partying. It was about going out and being
Mm,
cool. It wasn't, though I wanted to be well liked, I was willing to humble myself and I was willing to do what needed to be done, whether that was cleaning up something or, carrying the DJs, CDJs myself, like in my suit. And that is the other thing. My suit. I always wore a suit or a sport coat. And
mm,
what's laughable about that is that, yeah, that doesn't really make a difference. But think about it. You're a 19, 20-year-old kid. You're doing events at 21 and up bars, which, if you're working at it, it's totally legal. And I
yeah.
would never drink. I did not drink till I was 21, and it's still very rare that I drink. Honestly, I think I'm allergic to it, which is 25% Vietnamese, so it happens sometimes. Um, but the sport coat was and the suit my brand, and it still is to this day. Whenever I do a big event, I'm in a suit, usually full suit, tie, everything. That is my brand, and that set me apart because it gave that level of professionalism. And what was nice about College Station was that once I established that market, I was able to go to other cities, so even larger companies like Night Culture in Houston, or a friend of mine, Garth, ran San Martian Productions, which was in
Mhm.
San Marcos. I went to them and I said, hey, let's partner on something. And I can offer you College Station. You can book your DJs here. We can do
Mm,
multiple shows. That's what we did with Riff Raff. We had San Marcos, College Station. So we had those two shows. So we got a better price. Everybody was happy. Multiple shows were put on. And we've done this with many different artists, Loud Luxury, others, where you get multiple shows in different cities because you're partnering with people. And I also am a firm believer in being nice. It makes life a heck of a lot easier when you're nice. I'm really not that cutthroat because if you do, I'm not that cutthroat. If you do a better job than your competition, and you are nice and you are easy to work with and you make things flow smoothly and it's a pleasure doing business with you, you can overcome them literally just by being nice and people will be more willing to work with you. It's the people that are, and I saw this so much in the nightlife, difficult, combative, arrogant. Yeah, where's my
mm,
booth? Where's my bottle service? Why
yeah.
I did so yada yada yada, I've done so much for you. All these people getting upset. Stay calm, you know, be polite. And if things don't go well, then, you know, I've had a bouncers before stop me at the door saying, "What are you doing here, kid?" And I'm saying, "I'm the one organizing the event." But
Hello.
yeah, yeah. But I was just nice about it because the last thing you want is the bouncer to punch you or to get kicked out of the place where you're putting on a show.
Right, right. Hey, it's like the saying goes, you catch more flies with honey than you ever could with vinegar.
Oh,
And I think that's
100%.
the truth of it, right? And that's how you've been able to build the relationships that you have been. It's just the most basic thing. Just be nice to people. You get far
Exactly.
with just being nice and being known for being a nice person. that gets things done,
Exact.
right?
That's the key. A nice person that gets things done. I had somebody come up to me at an event once, person that worked at one of the venues here in Austin, and he said, "Oh, Benjamin, I've heard about you. You've got a very good reputation for being nice." And I was like, "Really? Oh, thank you. I'd never thought anybody would tell me that." I was very, very happy.
Yeah, no, that's a compliment. I love that. And and it's a sharp contrast from what you hear all the time about business owners. You got to be cutthroat. You've got to be this aggressive, almost Wolf of Wall Street type of individual to get far and be successful. And it's just not the case. Some people that's their, I mean, not that's your vibe, that's your energy you're
You'll
putting
make a
out,
lot of enemies, and
but
enemies
you're gonna
are
make a lot of enemies.
expensive
Yes,
and difficult. And the less
exactly.
enemies and the more friends you can have, and if someone really is causing a problem, just honestly, I found ignoring them and just do an event on the same day that they're having one. And that, but it's, yeah, you'll make a
Strategy.
lot of enemies if you're really cutthroat and mean, and you'll get a bad reputation. And honestly, it'll be very hard to stay in the industry.
Mm. Yes, yes. No, that's you're dropping some gems with that one. But seriously, something for people to consider if they're thinking of getting into this industry and really expanding within this space.
Very
Absolutely.
personal based, very, and
Yes.
that does make it hard to scale often. But it is very personal based. So if you have
Yeah.
someone at C3, they're the big company that puts on ACL. You have someone at C3 who really dislikes you because you were rude to them once, or you've been real difficult to work with. That can make your
Mm,
life a heck of a lot harder.
mm, mm.
For the
And that's
record, I
something.
love the people at C3, but
Yes, yes. No, of course. But no, it's serious. Seriously, it's something that people have to really take into consideration and keep this in mind as you're meeting and you're connecting with people is that you never know who this person is or who they're connected to. Oh my gosh, who they're connected to or who knows them, right? Because you could very well be meeting that same person that you cut off on the highway
yeah.
or you were just rude to at an event. And that's the person you're pitching a proposal for.
Yep.
You
I,
know,
I and I have seen that
all bad.
first. I have seen that firsthand of different guy, a gentleman that I knew was organizing an event, and there was some type of misunderstanding, and he kicked the owner out of the VIP section, and he never did another event there again. So yeah,
Wow.
I have seen those nightmare horror stories where, yeah, think about, yeah, try to really be careful before you act.
Right, right. Okay, so speaking of concerts, so you run concerts almost entirely through social media.
Yes,
Spill the
yes.
tea.
No.
What's one strategy that works every time, and what's one that's totally flopped for you?
Okay, so I would say, yeah, it's ticket sales. Ticket sales almost exclusively through social media. Sometimes I'll do some, as I call them, on the ground operations, whether that's putting up flyers or things like that. But the most effective is social media, without a doubt. A strategy that has failed was a Snapchat map filter. You could buy, and I believe you still can. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, this was a few years ago, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to get a Snapchat filter for this thing.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was very limited what you could put on it. And so it really ended up honestly being more of a vanity thing, where it was not really something that helped sales. It was a limited time. And I'm honestly not sure what I was thinking it would do, but I was thinking it'd be, oh, the coolest thing. And maybe I heard one person mention, what's this weird filter? Um, so
Oh,
yeah, no, that massive, massive fail, not worth it. Something that has worked really well and is something I am a huge proponent of is having a base of operations and having an audience in a geographical location. It's like I spent a lot of time and money really building up a following in College Station, in Austin, in Houston, focusing on Texas. My business is a Texas business. I think I have done maybe tops three events outside of the state just
wow.
because I will not be able to sell tickets outside of the state. That
Mm,
effectively, it is Texas that I'm able to organize events. And it would be difficult to grow beyond that, if I'm being very honest, because it is a very personal operation. I've sent an employee to an event before, and the owner, the manager's been like, "Where the heck is where?" Inserts a bunch of curse words. Where's
Attention.
Ben? Yeah, where is he? Why isn't he here? Organizing
Yeah.
it, making sure that everything goes well. So
Ah.
I would say Instagram ads, targeting the location, and the Instagram and Facebook ads, targeting
Mm.
the location and sort of the geographical area where you're going to have concerts to grow your audience, so that when you do have a concert, you can do both ads for that event, but also have an audience already established where they need to be.
Oh, nice, nice. I like that. As you were speaking, I was thinking of this. This was years ago, and this is pre-pandemic. Oh my gosh, when things were so
Simpler
simple,
times.
simpler days, simpler times, right? But I used something similar. I don't know if you did this, but did you get into geo? It's a geo targeting, geo fencing.
Yes,
Did
yes.
you get into that at any point? What did you think of it? Because I thought it was the coolest thing back then. I used maybe it twice in a campaign, and I liked it. It's just something I don't know. I must not have liked it well because I never did it again.
I found, I guess, I guess they're like me and Snapchat filters.
Yeah.
I guess I would say my extent of geolocating is what has been integrated into other services.
Mm,
Just, for Instagram ads, you can say Austin, Texas, and all of the interests. I find just targeting the general location
yeah.
and the interests is the key, not the exact borders of the city limits.
Like the
Yeah,
little
cutting
octagonal
out
square.
each precinct to like really
Yeah.
getting into the nitty gritty, because people
Yeah.
move around. It's not
True.
so. I haven't. I would say I don't have exact experience with it, but I do, to the extent of that it's been built into other tools.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Well, um, always like to ask, just out of curiosity, what everybody else
Yeah.
has been,
What happened to it?
what have
Yeah, I
been
guess
those things that we played with and,
it got
did it work?
integrated
Did it
into
work?
other things, but not as specific. But yeah, what happened to it? That was a big thing back a good few
Right?
years ago.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I think happened to it? Pandemic happened
Yeah.
to it. Like amongst all things,
Yeah, yeah, no, that was I saw a lot of that competition that you mentioned either go under or and a lot of people I worked with went under during that time. That was a real rough time for the events industry.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And listen, I mean, clearly your strategies were working because here you are, sustaining, thriving, and continuing to grow. So, I mean, it's working. It's working. So you've had the opportunity to work with some huge names like G-Eazy and Parker McCullum. Any fun, wild, or totally unexpected behind the scenes stories you can share? And we love a good industry scoop, but I totally understand if you can't name
Oh
names.
yes, no, no, I would not incriminate anybody. I
Yes.
would say that two. I'll give you a couple. One really crazy memory is we were doing a show with Wiz Khalifa, and it was at a venue in Austin. And he was a very nice guy, and that's what I found, that the more famous an artist is, the nicer they are. Like Lady Gaga, I haven't worked with her, but I was contracted as a contractor for an event where secretly she appeared for a charity concert. So maybe you could say I've worked with her, but I'd feel that's too much of a stretch.
Lucy. Yeah. Yeah.
Nicest person I've ever met. I was so nervous when I saw that she walked up or was going towards her limo, and I said, "Oh, hello, Miss Gaga. Can I get a picture with you?" And she just started laughing. And I found that her name isn't Miss Gaga. I realize that now, but I called. I said, "Hello, Miss Gaga."
Nickname.
Like I was, yeah, I was nervous, but that's definitely one of my favorite stories. She was very nice. But with Wiz Khalifa, I'm putting on this event. I'm running around in my suit. Everything is going well, but it's on the ground. It's go time. And I have a very strict rule: no drinking, no doing anything that would alter my state of mind. You just can't. You can't mix it. And he offers me something that he's smoking, and I don't know what it was. I'm sure that it was a
Oh my
cigarette. I'm
gosh.
sure it was just a cigarette. And
Oh,
I told him, "Oh, no, sir, you enjoy." I think that's exactly what I said because I was nervous
Yeah.
and and then I'm thinking to myself, will I want to tell the story of smoking with Wiz Khalifa more or politely turning him down? And I think that politely, very nicely, like I mean,
Very
it's a
nicely.
great honor.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm a
Yeah.
lightweight, so who knows if I did anything, good Lord, I probably would have passed out and then everything would
Oh
have,
my gosh.
but
Yeah.
that was great. Fetty Wap, sadly he went to prison. But
Mhm.
I really liked him. He was, to
Yeah.
me, very nice. I don't even know what he went to prison for. So if he did something horrible, disregard my statement. But he was, from my experience with him, he was very nice, easy to work with. And yeah, no, a lot of country artists love to have a good time and everybody will hang out
Mhm.
in the I guess I want to say green room, but it's not a green room like the van, that for different
Yeah.
events. Cole Wetzel's very nice. His mother and I spent like 2 hours just sitting at the table together watching his show. Puts on a
Yeah.
great show. Parker McCollum's a very nice guy. Yeah, no, it's been a lot of the artists. A lot of the artists are very nice, and I noticed that as you get higher up, and I would never say anything bad about anybody, but I've seen that lower down or on the rise, there are
Mhm.
people that really are not as nice. That they're
I
not.
understand what you're saying.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
arrogance. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
The
um,
startups.
those where they're really there's I a lot of people don't realize that they're a one-hit wonder. A lot of people in
Mm.
the moment, if something happens and you have a really big social media thing go off, just remember, try to use that to serve a greater whole or a greater purpose. That of these, yeah, there was something, they were just not really nice. And I would say that
Really?
to be nice when on the rise is the most important. But I saw with people who were really established, people like G-Eazy, people like Lady Gaga, who have no reason to be nice to me and could completely blow me off.
Mm.
Completely. And there's
Yeah.
nothing I could do, nor would I want to do anything. I'd still put a show on with them.
Yeah.
They were the nicest. They were the nicest.
Really?
And that really speaks volumes to me of the value. And I joke my little catchphrase, kindness is the new currency. It won't pay your bills, but it'll help you pay them.
Ooh, I like
Yeah,
that.
no, they're more famous people are usually the nicer they've been. Now that's not across the
Always the
board.
case, right? Of
I've
course.
met some very famous people who were very not nice, but the
Yeah.
majority are definitely a lot nicer.
Wow, wow. That's so interesting, to hear that it's not even who you would think that would
Yeah,
be complete jerks at times, right?
yeah.
It's the complete opposite. With my experience working with athletes and then working with musicians, I kind of relate to you in that I never felt any kind of way about them. I also wasn't starstruck, so I just treated them like just regular people. And I guess they appreciated that. Just the normalcy that I gave them at that time. But yeah, when I think back of some of my moments with them, it wasn't actually bad. It was actually they were very nice people.
Yeah.
It's almost always been the ones that are like, they just went viral
Yeah,
or
yep.
something just
Yep.
popped. And those ones come in like they're freaking Floyd Mayweather,
Yep.
like, "Ugh, let me put my gold Versace robe over
Yep.
here and or do you have my pink M&Ms?" And I'm like, is there pink M&Ms? Like,
Yeah.
is there pink M&M? And is this
Exactly.
necessary? Right?
Exactly. And
So
that's something
yeah.
I'd see, occasionally on riders, which is, is what the artist needs or, what they would like to have, where you would
Yeah.
see silly things like that bowl of green M&Ms. Now, usually it's to make sure that the person read the rider. That's usually why those are in there.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
sometimes, it is out of arrogance and it is just to say, oh, bend the knee. And that's always just silly and like
Ridiculous.
beyond ridiculous. It's rare, but definitely very silly. You mentioned athletes, and I think something that I forgot to mention. One of the secrets that was uh, that I used in College Station, and one that I think is fine to share now.
Yeah.
I would give tickets to tons. I'd give away a lot of tickets in the beginning, and I found that that really helped. And I'd
Mhm.
do raffles on social media, but I would give tickets to athletes, and I would give tickets to the fraternity and sorority presidents. And I found that that helped
Mm.
make the event the place to be. When you have the quarterback of the football team sitting over there, when you have the president of the IFC, that's the Interfraternal um, Society, IFC, uh,
Yeah.
something like that. When you have
Ah.
those people, you make your event the place to be, and you make it the event that if you get the presidents, back then fraternities and sororities were my biggest clients. Now it's mainly a corporate clientele, but
Mhm.
back then it was fraternities and sororities. But when you have their leadership, when you've made sure their leadership is coming, and you've given them, special guest, I'd get these printed up, or
Yeah.
VIP access. Um, you get it so that you've got that whole fraternity or that whole sorority
Mhm.
buying tickets for your event just because you gave
Yeah.
away 5 tickets. And
Ah.
that was incredibly, incredibly helpful in the beginning. And that really helped kick things off.
Oh, that is smart. You see where you were thinking on your toes even then.
Oh,
How can
yes.
I get the most outreach? How can I get the best people involved and want to create that experience and create that exposure that others are going to want to jump into that? You're getting into a little PR with this.
Oh,
I like it.
yes, yes, yes. You got to find, the influencers or micro influencers in the exact space that you want to sell to, and you got to make them fall in love with your product, even if that's just a show.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. So if you could put together, okay, your dream concert lineup, who's headlining and where's the venue? And bonus points if you have a wild card act that no one would expect.
Wild card act, I once had a trumpet player at an event because I was desperate. The artist was 2 hours late, almost three, and I was desperate. And there was the guy that played a trumpet and he wanted to play. And I said no, but he brought his trumpet to the event. And I said, okay, I'll let you play. That's my wild
Okay.
card. It was at a rap concert too, just throwing,
Yeah,
but he killed it. He killed it. The audience
he
loved it.
was
It was
good.
so funny. It was so funny. Um, my dream event, uh, when I was growing up, I think you'll laugh at this. My favorite rapper was G-Eazy because I could sing along to all of his songs without saying something bad. Um,
Yes,
uh,
I get it.
but I would say my dream, uh, and I want to preface this. I have some people I work with have worked with Drake, and they've done great things with him, and he's a very nice
Yeah.
guy from what I hear. But my dream would be to book Kendrick Lamar because
Your
I
guy.
he
Okay.
he in my opinion is the best rapper of our time. He is
Yeah.
like I've seen him once live at ACL many years ago, before I was in this business at all.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that show to this
Mm,
day was, I mean, one of the best that I've ever seen. And he just did the Super Bowl. He is, really like the American quintessential, probably top rapper right now. Um,
absolutely.
there was a massive music festival that I almost put on. The company had surveyed College Station and was prepping to do something like Chili Fest, but for rap and EDM. Now, sadly, they ended up not going. They surveyed the market, and I was so close. I was so close. Now we've done so many great events at this point, but back then that would have been the biggest event that I'd ever put on. Um, and they we were looking at getting Martin Garrix. Now he's a very famous DJ, and I believe he's Dutch. And the Dutch, now either the Netherlands or Dutch, but shoot, yeah, that area of the world. What do they
Yeah.
call it? The lowlands, or I forget
I
exactly.
think
Forgive
so.
me.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah. I think
So
it's the lowlands or
because
something.
it's like technically under the sea level, and they have to
Yes,
build
it's
all the
below sea level. Yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
They have schools out there where they
Mm.
literally teach people to be DJs. It is a massive
Really?
industry there. That's where Tiesto comes from. Huge EDM artist.
Yeah.
Martin Garrix, Hardwell, all of these people are coming from there. And Martin Garrix had the song "Animals" many years ago.
I remember that,
Yeah,
yes.
so he would have been probably my top for EDM. And it's for country, it's tough. I don't listen to much country. I mostly listen to
Mm.
um, either like this neoclassical music where it's like classical with a beat, very odd, I know, or rap.
No, no, that's what Bridgerton is built off of. You're onto
Hey,
something there.
but so those
Okay.
are those are what sort of the two things I listen to, and I think that my favorite group for that neoclassical or whatever they call it is automation. I think it's called. I might be saying it wrong.
Okay.
They're great, but I would say Kendrick Lamar and maybe Martin Garrix. And if I had to pick a country artist, that is a little harder for me because it really, those are the three that I book, three spaces I book in,
Yeah,
rap, EDM, country, mainly a little bit of this pop punk and emo because it's been becoming
yeah.
quite popular out here. So I've been booking a
Nice.
great band, cover band, even Jimmy Eat Brisket, but they're very talented people. So um, I would say probably Parker McCollum. He, since
Yeah.
we first worked together, his rise has just been meteoric, and
Yes.
he is really going places. And he's a very nice guy. His manager's great. They're great people, and so I think what the correct answer would be, maybe what was it, Pat Green, or I feel like, good lord, I'm forgetting all the country artist names. But
A
well,
little bit just because 'cause I'm from Nashville originally,
oh
so
wow.
yes, so I know country,
Okay,
right? But
okay.
there's levels to it because I grew up on, like, the old school stuff, like, Garth Brooks, and even before then, when Willie Nelson was doing his thing
Oh
with the
my
Highway
gosh,
Singers,
there you go. That to get Willie
you can
Nelson.
put Willie in
Willie
there, put Willie
Nelson.
in there. That would
Wi-
be a good matchup with K-Dot.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Willie
Oh,
Nelson.
yeah,
Could you imagine Willie Nelson, Kendrick Lamar on stage? How crazy that'd be.
killing it. It would be legendary.
Like you'd make
Like, it
millions
would
on that show. Like, good lord.
100%, 100%. Look, listen, you might have an idea here with your
Hey.
dream.
Oh yes. Well, I don't remember exactly how much Kendrick is, but I remember I got a list from a gentleman that I worked with. I think he has a family, got out of the game, but he sent me a list of different people and they're around their price and what he
Yeah,
recommended, and we were doing some shows together. And there were people like Nicki Minaj where it
yeah.
didn't have a price, but it said call me. So
Oh, well, you know
I bet
that.
Kendrick and I bet Willie Nelson are in the call me category. Willie Nelson's probably in the, you're not getting it unless he wants to do it category. Where
I can see that.
I know that
I can
Drake
see
is like 750 plus, usually around a million. So I know that at least for small shows, for small shows.
Mm,
So that's a
wow.
few years old. Information's out of date, but yeah, no, it
Yeah.
definitely that'd be quite a show. That'd be quite a show. I'd pay to see that.
Same here, because I love me some Willie.
Oh yes.
Okay, and I know he's always in Texas popping in it, but he's very much like you said, like, it has to be something he wants to do,
Oh yeah.
and
He's
he'll
old
pop up.
enough, wealthy enough,
That's just something he wants
powerful
to do.
enough. He and you see this, he's only going to do it if he wants to.
Yeah.
Maybe
He
turn it
doesn't
into
have
a
to
charity
rush.
event, and then
Yeah,
maybe you could make something happen.
maybe. Look at that. All right. So then, okay, so you've built a whole company while navigating severe dyslexia and ADHD. Mad respect and mad props for that. For real. So, what's a myth about dyslexia or ADHD in the business that you love proving wrong?
A myth. Yeah, I'm lucky that ADHD and things like that don't affect me too much.
Yeah.
But the dyslexia. I
Yeah.
am in the 1 percentile. I was diagnosed in kindergarten. I have
Oh,
extremely severe dyslexia, and to this day, I read at about a third grade reading level. I rely on text to speech, voice to text. And thank God, because the business is doing well, an assistant. So that is very, very extremely
Yes.
helpful. What is a myth? That is tough. I would say, an overall myth is that, dyslexics are dumb, which I think is a very sad myth, because all it
Yeah.
is it's a different distribution of neural net connections. So, like,
Mm,
I got maybe half the average neural net connections on one side, but double
mhm,
on the other, but just as many as anybody else. They're just spread
mm,
out differently. A lot of scientists are starting to say it's the old version of the brain, that before reading and
mm,
writing were a thing, it was the people who stayed up late at night could remember stories and would
yeah.
protect the camp
Mm,
at night. That was the dyslexic brain, and we didn't come about to be doing reading, writing, to be sitting
mm,
down, doing arithmetic, these type of things. More, ooga booga, sort of more, just
yeah.
protecting the cave from the mountain lions and
Yeah.
helping give talks to the tribe or play music. Like, that was what was our thing. And
Mm,
a myth, I would say the biggest myth, and this is one that really does cut my heart. The biggest myth is that you get over it, that you get past it, that it can be, cured. I had
mhm,
9 years of reading therapy, and thank God that got me to the point. A saint of a woman, Mrs. Prim, an old teacher, tutored
yeah.
me for a good few years, and finally got me with the Orton Gillingham approach, the original
Mm,
program for teaching dyslexics. Very simple. Flashcards: A apple B bat C cat D dog da. I remember it to this day. Haunts my dreams. No, no, I joke, but um, the biggest myth is that, yeah, you get over it. You can
mm,
remediate it, and it's very important that you do. If you have if you're dyslexic yourself, if you have a dyslexic child, you want to immediately get reading therapy, like, as early and as often as you can. Like, that is so important. Otherwise, person may not be able to ever read effectively. Um, but you can't ever get past it. That is literally how your brain works. So you can learn. I read by memorization. Like, I look up at our recording, um,
mhm,
and I see Lev, but I know that's Leave in the corner.
mm,
I look around and I see, the I can't tell what the name is on that box because I haven't memorized a light bulb box. Got no idea what that says. No idea,
mhm,
because I haven't yeah, because I haven't memorized it, and that's mainly how I read. So yeah, the getting over
mhm.
it, because I've been putting on a massive show, and I'll,
Yeah.
out of my sport coat or my suit jacket, I'll pull the list. I remember this like it was yesterday. I pulled the list out of who was
Yeah.
coming next, and I'm looking at it, and I cannot tell for the life of me what it says. And it was sad to
Mm,
me, but it was also funny, because it was like, this whole event couldn't happen without me, but I can't read what's on that
mm.
dang sheet. I
Yeah.
remember grabbing an audio guy, and I was like, who is coming next? Because it was loud. I had earplugs in, but yeah, it never goes away. It is who you are, and I'd say embrace it.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're running a company, obviously promoting events and speaking on stages, how do you keep your focus? When I put this question together, I was like, I really want to know because I think I personally have an undiagnosed ADHD because when I tell you, even sitting and having conversations like this, it like I have to have something that I'm playing with. Otherwise, I'm going to be bouncing because I have to be moving, if that makes
Oh
sense.
yeah,
I think I have an
probably, probably.
yes, because my focus and I'm always been that way, and I've always been that one where, oh, Brandy's always gotta have something going on, meaning I'm always multitasking. I have multiple chips going at one time
Yeah,
in order to function normally. I can't focus on one thing at one time. I have to be doing multiple in
I
order to do
get. I'll have a video on one phone while I'm working on the other. I get
yes.
that.
I thrive in that, and
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people, they just look like, "How do you I can't do all of these things." I was like, "Really? Because I can." Like, that's my superpower.
I used to go work in the back of a nightclub, sitting in one of the booths on a quiet night because the music was loud, the lights were going, and it was that sensory overload, and I could just focus. Um,
Yes.
how do I stay
How do you stay focused in all of
focused?
that that's going on?
The funny thing is, I am almost afraid isn't the right word, but I am nervous that if I do not, that someone else will come from the position or the thing that I'm unwilling to do and overtake me. That things will fall apart and the people who rely on me won't be, won't be able to put food on their table, that things will
Yeah.
be chaos. And there's that element of I have to, that
Yeah.
sort of forces me to.
Yeah.
And because I say this to my good buddy a lot, that when everyone else is calm, I am panicking. When everyone else is panicking, I am calm. It is
Yeah.
like in a crisis, this calm comes over me that,
Yeah.
if something really bad is going on, if there's really a bad situation, I am like, okay, this is what we got to do. This is what needs to be done. And the rest of the time, yeah, I'm panicking. Unless everybody's panicking and then I'm calm. So
Yeah.
the necessity of it, the fact that, and also too, the beautiful thing about events is you will see all your hard work come to fruition. That if you really put in a lot to it, you will see that when it's a packed house, when you've got 20,000 people jumping in the amphitheater, when you've got the venue packed full, when the things are going off as perfectly as they can.
Yeah.
That is a nice reward. And, seeing the ticket sales go up, seeing people happy, that is motivating. So yeah, the fear of being left out, the fear of failure, and the motivation to always want to do better and to thrive for the people that depend on me, and of course myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you have any unconventional productivity hacks that you're willing to share?
I mean,
Speaking for all of us ADHD and undiagnosed ADHD business owners.
if I am on the phone, sometimes I will either take a walk or lately garden, which I know sounds very funny. And I will literally talk to people
Oh.
and they will say, "What is that sound?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm spraying the hose." Because I got to water the lawn, you got to get the grass
Mhm.
going. Only because, and I remember reading this study, well, not actually reading it. My father read it to me years and years and years ago, uh, talking about how for dyslexics specifically, it is
Mhm.
easier to learn if we are moving. That there was a big trial done and found that dyslexic students that were walking around and being read information remembered it better than those who were sitting and being read that
Mhm.
information, and that there's a connection, and I don't know if it applies to ADHD as well, but that there's a connection between doing something with your body and learning.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you can, this is not possible for everybody, but if you can take some of your meetings and literally, I will literally walk around my office right here. I will literally walk back and forth. I will go sit down there. I'll get back up. I'll move around, and I'll just have my AirPods in and
Yeah.
do the work. So that would be. It's tough for me because I don't know if I have any great secret hacks
Yeah. Yeah.
that, but that's something, and it's more just know that if you don't, you might lose. So do that, that, well, whatever you want in life, if you want more, if you want something, you don't,
Mhm.
for me, I never wanted to be left out again. If I put
Yeah.
on the events, how could anyone leave me out? That if you really want something,
Mhm.
it may take years, it may take a decade, but if you really want something, go out and seize it. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, then, there's no shame in trying, but there is
Yeah.
shame in not trying. And there's no shame in trying and failing. Like, not at all. I have been rejected so many times. I have failed so many times. I have had things go really bad. I've had situations where I have almost, in the beginning, I almost lost my shirt a couple times. That if that one event didn't go well, I would not be talking to you here today as a business owner. The company would have gone under. But luckily, it went well, or it went just well enough. And then the
Yeah.
next one went well. And then the one after that went okay. And the one after that went great. And so it, we have to try. If you want
Yeah.
something, you have to try. And it will be hard often, but there's no shame in failing. The only shame is in not trying at all.
100%. Okay, so you're an advocate for dyslexic students and young
Yes.
entrepreneurs. If you could go back and give your college self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, somebody asked me this and I was having a difficult day, and I can be dramatic. You'd never guess that.
Mhm.
Oh, I can be very dramatic.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
no,
think
I
I know what
joke
you said.
around a lot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Drama Queen over here. Um, but someone asked me that, like a friend of a friend, and I was just being difficult. And this is not my real answer. I'm going to give you a much better answer, but I hope your audience finds this funny. I
Yeah.
told him I would take a hold of my college self and I would say, "Don't cry yet. There is much more pain to come." Oh yeah, like good lord, that's dramatic. Yeah, so no, I would not actually say that. And I was
Buckle up.
just
Get
talking
ready.
about the brain tumor and everything. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, good golly, that was me being dramatic. I
Yeah.
would say the real answer. Yeah, no tears yet. Like good golly, I really can be quite something. The real answer would be, I would say, I have to say that I loved college. I hated high school. Hated high school. That was a very difficult time for me. I had few friends. I had a club towards the end that was great. Turned it from, I think I built the biggest club in the school because it was me talking about current events and just ranting and raving for 30 minutes
Mm.
every Friday.
Okay.
But yeah, I enjoy those type of things.
Yeah.
But high school was tough.
Yeah.
College was great, and I did enjoy it. I do have some regrets. I would say, I wouldn't want to mess up the timeline. It all worked out okay in the end, but I wasn't
Yeah.
always close with my family during those
Mhm.
times. When the business was first starting to rise, I put
Mhm.
everything I had into the business. Yeah,
Yeah.
every cent in my bank account, every hour that I was awake that I didn't have to be doing something else, I put into the business. And so I do wish, that I was closer to my family back then. Now, of course, we're all very close. They're fantastic. I love them. They're wonderful people, and they helped me a ton through the brain tumor. Um, and that and the pandemic brought us a lot closer together just because we were together all the time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, either being closer with the family sooner,
Yeah.
but I would also say stay the course. The road is going to be really hard.
Mhm.
Um, you know. Uh, Keep God in your heart,
Yeah.
do your best, and everything will be okay. Yeah, I'd probably say keep going.
Keep going.
You gotta try. You gotta try. The road's gonna be hard sometimes, but you got this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, no, probably screwed up the timeline, and everything is gonna be in chaos now because of those
Yeah.
few words. But no, it would be, yeah, stay the course. That everything will be okay. You got this. Something like
Yeah.
that. I wouldn't. Or maybe I'd look at whatever stocks had done well, and I would go back and say, "Oh, buy Dell," or something like
Just
that.
saying.
So yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah. Or what? Put all your money in Bitcoin or something.
Oh,
So I know
yes.
nothing about the cryptocurrencies and stuff. My
Same.
dyslexic mind I will have an aneurysm. But yeah, actually, you know what? That's great advice. Yeah, go back and tell
Yeah.
your past self to buy a stock that'll do really
Get
well.
some stock.
Yeah,
So,
so then you can be a millionaire, and then you can put on
yeah.
whatever events you want.
There you go. There you go. So, first off, you're a warrior going through brain surgery, losing hearing in one ear, and still coming out swinging. It's incredible. How has this experience changed your perspective on business and on life in general?
Yes, it was the hardest experience of my life
Hmm.
by far.
Yeah.
You go in. I had a little minor hearing loss, and I remember I was putting on a show, and I could just tell that it was a little off. And I had
Yeah.
started wearing earplugs because I said, "What a tragedy! At 23 to lose part of my hearing. What a tragedy! I was so stupid. I should have worn, not to talk negatively, but I should have worn, earplugs all of this time."
So protect yourself. Yeah.
Eargasm are the earplugs name. They are
Love.
great, but what a weird name for the earplugs. Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, wear earplugs, but there was a little bit of pressure and 2% hearing loss. Now, I'd been nauseous for years and years, and I had no idea that was a symptom, but I thought I just had a
Mm,
weak stomach and I was nervous.
yeah. Oh.
But I said, okay, I'll go into the doctor. And I remember I almost did not go. I almost did not go because I was going to visit my family for a holiday. I don't even remember which one.
Mm.
Um, and I think it was Christmas, but I had to go back before New Year's because I had an event or maybe not something like that, a holiday, maybe Thanksgiving, and I had to go back because I had an event, and I almost skipped that appointment. I remember standing on the stairs, and I was really thinking, okay, yeah, I don't actually need to go. I'm fine. I'm 23. Like this is ridiculous, Ben. Stop being paranoid. And I went in, they gave me a CT scan, after they looked in and everything seemed fine. CT scan, the doctor was like, oh, your bones look a little weird, but you could have been born that way. So you're probably fine. They schedule an MRI. I get an MRI, and I had an event. And so, I'm not really looking at calls from the hospital or things like that.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
get a call from my parents at like 11 or like late at night, um, and or early in the morning, one of the two. They kind of call me in a panic, and they're like, "Ben, the hospital contacted us because we're your emergency contact, and they said you need to come in right away." And that is when I didn't sleep a wink that night. So it must have been at night because that's bad. That's bad when a hospital is contacting you. Like they're usually hard to get a hold of.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that
Very.
I was like, okay, something is really wrong. But I stayed positive. I'm a positive person. I believe everyone always should try to be, be realistic but positive. Um, I went in and the doctor sat me down and he said, you have a golf ball sized acoustic neuroma growing off your hearing nerve in your right ear, growing underneath your brain, pushing up against your brainstem. And if you are currently at serious risk of a stroke. And if you do not get it out, you will be dead within 1 to 3 years.
Oh my
So
gosh.
to get that news, you're by yourself. I took an Uber there because I knew that if I got really bad news, it was going to be hard to drive back.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that was like a ton of bricks. And then they said, okay, we need to get this out like ASAP,
Yeah.
ASAP. Uh, and I remember leaving that place, um, leaving the hospital and sitting on the bench waiting for my Uber. Um, my first reaction when I found out was to laugh. Like
Yeah.
it was so
Mhm.
beyond that I just laughed. I
It's like, can't make this up.
yeah, I was waiting for that
That's
Uber and I got in it and that's when I broke down and I told the driver I was like, yeah, I just got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And I was very lucky though that I believe a month or two later when I did get it removed, I was able to get it out at MD Anderson. They're the premier place in the world,
Yes, it is.
the
Yes,
best.
they
Because
are.
other hospitals I looked at, I mean, the technology was 10, 20 years behind.
Outdated.
Uh, it-
Yeah.
I have disturbing things. Um, but getting it out at MD Anderson, I was lucky. And then, I had the brain tumor removed. I lost hearing in my right ear. They had to, I don't even have a hearing nerve. And that's the thing. It's not silent. It rings constantly because your brain is looking for a signal that isn't there. So it is like a loud tinnitus all the time. But you get used to it. Um, Lost the balance nerve there. So I had to learn how to walk again because I would just fall over. If I stood up, I'd just fall over. But a couple
Yeah.
months of physical therapy, I was able to do a lot better.
Yeah.
But it was that was tough, and I went radio silent. And I, funny enough, there was a great honor. There was a gentleman who was making a documentary about my work in College Station for
Mhm.
some project,
Yeah.
and he thought that he was like, "What happened to Ben Shrader?" And that was great.
Yeah.
Got gamma knife, which is a type of radiation treatment where
Yeah.
they literally drilled. They drilled. You're awake. It's like a Saw movie, and they drill the bolts
Yikes.
into your skull. Um, I mean, the crackle. I will never forget the crackle when they would
Uh,
inject the needles because you got like your head's like in a leather bag almost that
yeah.
protects your skull, or
The
it's
rest
either,
of it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you'd know this working with athletes, the stuff can get all messed up, but
Yeah.
when they do the needle on that, oh my God. And
Oof.
that I'll remember the rest of my life. The worst
Yeah.
part, they didn't have a premium Spotify account, so you're lying in this machine listening to music, and every couple songs, it's "We Are Farmers," Lowe's new great deal. So that was the one
Oh my
complaint I put
gosh.
on. I said, get a premium Spotify account. That
It's like,
yeah,
please, do you
yeah,
want
no,
me to share my
I
Bluetooth
knew
with you? Like, yes.
every single ad out there. But getting through that was hard. I do believe, though, in the
Yeah.
end, it built character. I
Yeah.
became a lot closer with my family. Um, I really saw that life is short, and I said, okay, if I die now, with the time I had, I did my best, and
Yeah.
that's all we can do.
Wow, wow, that is incredible. That's such an incredible story. And, just reading more about you, I hear that you talk a lot about the power of fortitude, right?
Yeah.
So, what helped you get through in all of those moments, through the toughest moments of your life? What helped you push through all of that as it was going on?
For me, and this has been perverted a lot by a lot of people, but
Mm.
stoicism, actual
Mhm.
stoicism, not the type you hear from
Yeah,
influencers and things like that.
the real
um,
deal.
the real deal of saying, okay, things are bad, can I handle this? Yes. Things could be worse. I don't know if I could handle that, but I can handle this. The whistle blows, you got to go over the trench. Like, it is go time. You just have to. I had to get it out, or I wouldn't be talking to you right now. That I didn't have a choice. So
Hmm.
now, of course, I could have said I'm not getting it out, or I just do radiation. But there was those were no guarantee I'd be fine. And just saying, okay, it has to be done. Now we go and do it. And that
Yeah.
saying, okay, it could be worse. It could be a heck of a lot worse. I could have brain cancer. It was a benign tumor, acoustic neuroma. It's the coating of your nerve, your myelin sheath grows into a tumor.
Wow.
Um, it could have been brain cancer. It could have been all over my body. It could have been on both sides. That happens to some people. Thank God I have hearing in one ear. Like, being dyslexic, I don't know what the heck I would do if I went deaf. That's one of the greatest fears of mine to this day, because I'm not even a cochlear candidate. I don't have a
Mhm.
hearing nerve. There is nothing there to
Mhm.
connect. And so it's just this outside part and maybe a few remnants, but that's it. Um, so yeah, it had to be done. And that just saying, okay, it's go time. I got this. It could be worse. Let's do this. That got me through, and then thinking of better times to come, keeping that positivity for sure, and saying, I'm gonna, maybe I'll go on vacation. I think I went skiing when I got cleared from all. Guy has brain
Yeah.
surgery, goes skiing. Yes, that's very smart.
That makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do
yeah. I
that.
did buy the best helmet that was out there, and it was like a fighter pilot helmet. So cool.
Oh,
Um, so
yes,
that
yes.
was
Nice.
having something to look forward to say, okay, times are bad now, but they'll be better.
Yeah.
and it could be worse. And remembering that, and not even comparing yourself to other people, but just saying my situation could be a heck of a lot worse. I would think about,
Yeah.
because I was angry at the time. I was angry, like, boy, why am I cursed at 23 to be struck down
Yeah.
with this? At the height that COVID restrictions and everything had just ended and everything was popping off again. The business
Yeah.
was on the up and up, things were going great, and I am struck down. But, it's humbling. We're all human, we're all mortal,
Yeah.
and we just got to do the best with the time we have.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, just speaking with you, it just reminds me so much of what my husband went through because I kind
Yeah,
of mentioned this offline of him going through lung cancer in his
horrible.
20s. And both of you, despite the fact that all of this was going on in your 20s and being so young, you just have such a positivity about you. And that was the same thing with him. He was just so positive despite everything that was going on, which most people like you would just fold. Honestly, you would just fold out of the weight and the gravity of what's happening and the unknown. And so to
Yeah.
hear that from you, it just kind of reminds me of all those moments and those times of those conversations and how important it is to have a good support system around you
Yeah.
that's like reinforcing all of that positivity. Like let's not just be, oh well, we're just going to be nice to be nice or be positive just but like really enveloping and ingraining that within everything that you're doing so you really feel it this truly
Yeah.
that we're going to fight this thing and you're not alone and all of those good things.
I think that, a lot of times you get that growing up, or you get that, from good people around you.
Yes.
And that is so important. You said your
Yeah.
husband's a military man. Of course, thank him for his service. That's a very, very decent thing. And I think that almost, I myself have never been in the military, nothing like that, but I've always had a great respect. And, my grandfather was in the military and he would always tell me about it as a kid.
Yeah.
That almost martial tradition,
Yes.
that spirit of like, okay, we just have to. Like,
Yeah.
this is a really bad situation, but we just have to. That
Yep.
feeling of, I don't I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to keep moving forward and I'm
Mm.
just going to try.
Yeah.
That's what got me through. And I'm sure it's a similar thing with your husband, of that you have to do it, that you got to keep pushing
Yes.
forward. And then you got to fight, because if you don't fight, what do? Just lay down and die? No,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I do get that it's overwhelming for people sometimes, that
Yeah.
I do understand that, because I mean, there were times where I
Yeah.
really felt overwhelmed, but it was something that, like, I would wake up the next morning
Mm-hmm.
and I would say, alrighty, today's a new day. Yeah, every
Yep.
time that you go to bed, when you wake up, it's a new day. So, all right, here we go again. Let's do this.
Yeah. There you go. Stay in the course. I love that. I love that so much. All right. So switching gears, something a little bit more positive, right? We got to get into the fun stuff before we wrap up today. So you're booking a music festival, but with a twist. Only fictional characters can perform. Who's on your stage? And
Oh,
yes, I'm going to
shoot.
be judging your picks.
I'm so bad at names. I'm so bad at names that I can't remember his name. Oh, have you?
What does it look like?
I love the Witcher books. They were very, very good. So
Geralt. I'm
Geralt is
thinking
the Witcher, but his good friend is like a bard, like a
that's the,
famous.
yep.
You know who
I
I'm
can't,
talking about? Maybe from the TV show, even.
yes,
Okay, that
yes,
guy, that
that
the
guy. I
bard
know who you're
guy,
talking about.
Flavian, some. Oh shoot, I wish
Listen.
I could remember his name. Um, so yeah, he's our headliner. You know.
Oh, nice.
I
I
mean,
liked him.
this super
Okay.
skilled bard, that'd be so funny. Maybe get him at a Renaissance festival or something.
Yeah.
So that guy. Um, who next? That is tough. You know, that guy from the Mos Eisley Cantina in Star Wars with the really big head and the flute. You
Ooh.
ever seen
See, I'm not
Star
a Star
Wars?
Wars, Star Wars girly. I can't remember this one.
So from the early movies, I think from the first movie, they go
Oh.
into a cantina and there's a band there.
Yep, yep,
I
yep, I
want
know what
that
you're saying.
band. I want that band. That's gonna be a
Because they kept
banger.
going. They
That is
kept it
gonna
lively.
be and then I'm trying to think. I love this book series, Red Rising. I listened to all of those books, but
Mm.
it's like military sci-fi. There's really no music. They have one really sad song, but let me think. That I like that Hunger Games song, but maybe not. Um, yeah, no, this is. Oh yes, yes. What was it? Something like I forget exactly. Oh
Yep,
yeah, yeah.
yep.
I'm trying to think of different movies with music. The last one, you're gonna laugh at me. I want the Sardaukar throat singers from Dune. Uh,
Ooh. Okay.
that Mongolian throat singing is
Yeah.
some of the most unique music I ever heard. I heard someone put it to like a dubstep beat, and there's
Yeah.
surprising potential there. I don't know if it'll ever take off because it's a little out there, but hey, that's pretty cool. So those three,
Huh.
the bard, the aliens with their musical instruments, and the throat singing from the space warriors with their army serving the emperor. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a sci-fi guy, so a little bit of fantasy, but those are going to be my top three.
I
That's
like
going to
that.
be
I
one
actually
weird
really like
concert. One weird concert.
that.
But
Hey, it works. It works, right? So if your life had a theme song, what would it be and why?
a friend of mine who was a DJ would play the Imperial March. But I do not think that the Imperial March is going to be my, dun dun da da that type of thing. I don't think that's actually going to be my theme song. I would say um maybe something by Kesha, something by Avril Lavigne. I know that is so funny, but you know, growing up, I liked Avril Lavigne. It was funny that those silly, funny type of songs. Shoot, that's a tough one.
She had a good run. I will
Oh
give
yeah,
her,
she did. She did.
I liked her too.
I forget the names of so many of the songs now, but I would say Call Me Maybe? No, no. The something
Okay.
from the Black Eyed Peas, who were the peak of music, and I will stand
They
by this.
were.
They were
Yep.
the music ended there, and everything after that is not. It's never been the same. I would say. Oh, actually, I'm going to change my answer. Um, Dynamite or Hangover by Tayo Cruz, even though I don't really drink.
Oh, okay.
So, that not the hangover is not applicable, but Tayo Cruz, I don't know what happened to him, but my goodness, he had potential.
He
Like,
had so much
those
potential
songs were
and then just
so
nothing.
good.
Like no follow up, or at least I didn't hear it. Like
I've heard nothing about him.
and just nothing.
And maybe he fell into that trap that some people do and got a little too excited too quickly. But
Yeah,
I
I could see.
so let's go with Dynamite by Tayo Cruz. So
I
that's
like
gonna be
that.
my that's the peak of music those days. Everything from 2000 after 2010 is just not the same.
It's just not. You're so right on that one.
Thank
Okay.
you. See,
All right.
everyone I talk to says this, so
Yeah.
you know,
It's just not different. It's just it's not the same. It was just it went up and then just now we have I don't know what we have.
give it 10 years, everything's gonna be made by people using AI, and there
Right.
is a new
Oh
software,
gosh.
I forget what it is called, but if you look up AI generated music, or create your own song, I was blown away. I mean, you can write it out and it will sing it, and it sounds indistinguishable from a person.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I mean, it'll mess up sometimes and say like, blah, yeah, yeah, those type of things. But yeah, so yeah, that's crazy world we live in, crazy times. But 2010 of the best music.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely can agree with you on that. Okay, so lastly, what's next for you? New events, more advocacy, maybe conquering another industry? I wouldn't be
So
surprised.
So, oh, you're very generous. You're very generous. I do love politics, and that has always been a dream of mine. That is my end game. Has been into go into politics, um, because I see that as the best way to fight for change, the best way to make things better, make things different, to not settle.
Mm.
Um, when it
Okay.
comes to business, we do always some great events coming up. We
Yeah.
have DJs booked, and there's always a lot of things going on. South by Southwest just wrapped up,
Yeah.
and so we had a bunch going. I mean, we had like 10 shows in one day on one of the days. Bunch going on here, bunch going on there. I was brokenhearted to see that South by Southwest is discontinuing the music track.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was actually really shocked by that.
Most of our
That
shows,
made no
almost all
sense.
that we would do were just during South by because
Yeah,
it was a great moneymaker, lots of people in town.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I was literally just meeting with the head coordinator of South by Southwest Music. I mean, I talked with him on the second to last day. Like we
Mm,
just got together to talk. And
wow.
now to think that that's gone, I'm, weeping and crying in this valley of tears. Like that
Yeah,
stinks. Hopefully they'll change their mind, bring it back. I don't know how
I
you
hope
can do it
so.
in Austin without that.
Yeah.
But as for what's next, staying the course. Working on really the corporate clientele that we're working with now a lot. A corporation wants to have a concert at their conference. That's always a
Mm,
tongue twister for me, and I almost always accidentally say it in reverse or something. Um, Expanding in that, finding a lot of different companies to work with, getting those sort of recurring things with them, continuing relationships with fraternities and sororities, even though, I love them because they have a lot of cheddar cheese, but they're going to give me an aneurysm. So, they can
well,
be a little stressful, as you can imagine,
yes,
but,
yes.
sometimes they put on like beyond incredible events, beyond when
Mhm.
a giraffe pulls up to an event, a literal giraffe that someone's leading in for this, and they're having this enormous party with tons and tons of people, and you're just thinking, "Oh my goodness, thank God that I'm doing this at a venue," and
Yeah.
yeah. So, but continuing the course, continuing to go forward. Working my personal life, a lot of great things going on, and just yeah, continuing the course. I think I might even be testifying coming up
Ooh.
on a bill for dyslexics. Um,
Oh,
so that
yeah.
I'm very passionate about that because I spoke at the International Dyslexia Association.
Mhm.
There's another large dyslexic organization that I'm planning to speak at, and doing those type of things are very important to me because I I was very fortunate, that I had parents that got me reading therapy that helped me. There are a lot of kids that aren't, and it is very
Yes.
hard. And I don't think people always realize because when you talk to dyslexia, 1 in every 5 people have it, but a lot of
Yes.
people don't have it very severe. And it's probably a blanket term for hundreds of different conditions, but we just don't understand the brain well enough to be able to say, okay, this, and this. But I was told I would never meet anybody with as severe dyslexia. That's probably not true. They told me I'd never read, so
Mm,
gotcha there. But yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. um, but yes, continuing to do things with the dyslexic community, advocating for that community. I was very happy to see it recognized as an official disability, even though I will always call it a learning difference.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, anybody calls me
Yeah.
disabled, I'm going to get pretty grumpy pretty fast. Well, I guess half deaf now,
I
so, you
understand
know,
that. Yeah.
maybe,
I would
maybe it
too.
counts. Where's my handicap placard? But,
Yeah.
I might as well take the benefits. I always say if something bad happens to you, use it, you get
Yep.
the right to use it. But yeah, continuing advocacy for the dyslexic community, doing a lot of things with that. I love that. There is a secret project that I was approached and I agreed to it and worked on it for a year.
Okay.
There will be a book coming out on growing up
Nice.
dyslexic and how to navigate that, different tips and tricks, written in my most dramatic style. So it's pretty funny. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, well,
Nice.
just the future's bright, and I'm still kicking, so that makes it a good day.
Well, congratulations and best of luck to everything that you have going on. It's amazing. You're incredibly, incredibly blessed to say the least.
Thank
And
you.
I'm just looking forward to continuing to watch from afar your journey. And now it's
Oh,
not afar anymore. Now that I know you're in Austin, we're gonna have to
yeah,
link
we're neighbors, so
neighbors.
we
Yeah,
have to grab coffee. It'll be a great time. So,
yes, yes, please do. Yes. Okay, so before we wrap, um, let us know where we can we follow you?
so
Where
the
can we connect
best
online?
two places, the best is Instagram at Benjamin_Shrader. That's Shrader. As I told you before the show, I think my father would joke, it's cheaper without the C. So no C, just SHR. Such a dad joke, such a dad joke. Shrader, Benjamin_Shrader. And then, excuse me, the great expansion, what we're really working on, the YouTube. So at that is just Benjamin Shrader. Search it up, subscribe, notifications. I need to really learn what to say for YouTube. But yes, no, those are the two best places to follow me. If you ever want to get a hold of me, shoot me a DM on Instagram, and you will get a message back at some point in the foreseeable future. Sometimes I don't check them enough, but yes, those are the best places.
Perfect. All right. Well, I want to thank you again so much, Ben, for stopping by the Brandinc PR podcast show. It's been awesome.
It
This has
really
been such
has.
a fun conversation and
I,
definitely looking
I've
forward
so
to
enjoyed
staying
it.
connected.
And thank you,
Yeah.
ask amazing questions. So thank you very much.
Oh,
Probably, I think I've done lots of podcasts, but I think these were some of the best questions that I've gotten. So just very cool, very unique. So
I
thank you.
love it. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Well, you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And to my listeners, definitely keep tuning in. Let us know what you think of the episode. And as always, check in. Brandinc PR Podcast airs every Thursday. And stay connected with us. Like, subscribe, follow, and we'll see you next time.